What's up guys, my name is Liam and today we're going to be taking a look at the highly anticipated Delux M800 Ultra. This has been by far one of my favorite shapes on the market, and ever since they announced the 49-gram version coming out, it's been one of my most anticipated releases of the year. But is this going to be the perfect gaming mouse for you? Let's check it out. Before we get started today, I did want to let you know that I'm going to be working with two copies today, and both these were actually sent out to me. The white copy I had sent out to me by MetKeys, and the black copy was actually sent out by Delux themselves. But everything you will be hearing in this video will be my own thoughts and my own opinions. I'll show you guys really quickly what the box looks like here. It opens up with this flap in the front, pretty cool stuff. Here's some of the specs listed on the side, and here is a shot of the back. It does come just with the 1K receiver. It does not have the 4K receiver included. You have to purchase it separately. It also doesn't come included with a dongle adapter, these premium grips, a user manual. It does have a storage case, a USB-C connectivity cable, an extra set of skates. It does come in a couple different options. You have either the white or the black colorway. I'll kind of go over the differences here shortly, but there's also a 600 milliamp hour battery that's going to weigh a little bit more, but obviously give you longer battery life. That comes in around 55 grams. And then they have the 300 milliamp hour battery, which is a little bit lighter weight, comes in around 49 grams. And we'll drop these on a scale here shortly, but obviously for me personally, I always opt for lighter weight over longer battery life personally. I did pick up the original mouse when it first came out, and I've been a huge fan of the overall shape and experience with it. This is the one that has the 3335 sensor in it, and then I did a review not too long ago on this more updated version. Both these mice are actually pretty similar for the most part. I just do feel like this one is a bit more of a fine-tuned version. And with the M800 Ultra, as you can see here, they did change up a couple of things. They did make the top skate a little bit bigger, so these are using different skates. They did put this longer skate down here on the bottom as opposed to the bigger and thicker one. The power button they moved over here down in the middle. It still does have a Bluetooth option. If you move it over to the left, to the right, it would actually enable the dongle. Then over here you have a DPI and pair button, and over here you just have a PR button. On the white version of the mouse, it does come with these white skates, and on the black version, as you can see, I swapped them out. I'm pretty sure these skates are probably made out of the same material, but they are this black colorway. With my personal experience, I kind of felt like these black ones, they felt a little muddy to me when you're making the micro adjustments. So I actually opted for putting the dot skates on here. Since they did make this top skate bigger, you can't actually fit the dot skates on here now. I personally wouldn't recommend doing the same loadout or layout that I've done. As you can see here, they got these screw holes on the side, and I try to put them as close to the screw holes as I can without covering them up. The one unfortunate thing is you kind of do get the mouse still to tilt a little bit. So probably after I'm done filming this video and it's done, if I make sure I have everything taken care of on the inside of the mouse, put together the way I like it, then I'm probably going to end up covering up these screw holes with dot skates just to prevent the mouse from actually teetering on me. And just so you know, if you do leave the stock skates on here, or if they do eventually come out with third-party skates on the market, which I'm sure they probably will, I don't have that issue with the mouse tilting on me at all. Again, it's just because I didn't put them all the way to the edges to try to prevent from covering up the screw holes. I'm not sure if there is any additional coating applied to the top of the surface. It could just be plastic, but it does have a slight bit of texture to it. And for me personally, I don't really have that slippery of hands, but it does honestly make the mouse feel a little bit more grippy. And when I'm comparing the white copy to the black copy, they do feel pretty similar to one another, but for whatever reason, I do feel like the white version does feel just a little bit more grippy. I'm not sure if it's the type of plastic that they use, a little different or something like that. The overall feeling, I do slightly prefer the feeling of the white version in hands. I also did experiment with wetting my hands to see if it would make the experience a little more slippery, and it does, but it still does maintain a good level of grippiness there. They are using the transparent Huano blue shell pink dot switches, and honestly the click experience between both these copies with mouse 1 and 2 is identical. There's very little to no pre-travel, and they've done a really good job on the post-travel as well. Once you actually click it down, it does feel solid. Again, same on both copies, feels really solid and consistent, and even the click from front to back all around, I don't notice like any bad spots, any terrible teetering, or any bad side-to-side play. So they've done a really excellent job with mouse button 1 and 2. One thing that I did notice about mouse button 1 and 2 as I was gaming with this a lot is, I'm not sure how well this will come through on the camera, but the base kind of does stick out a little bit, and it is kind of a little bit of a sharper feeling there. So sometimes as I was gaming, I would just slide my read finger up on here and it'd kind of catch it. Nothing that was too terrible, but something just kind of stood out to me. I figured I'd bring it to you guys. There have been some users reporting they're having issues with the scroll wheel, but Delux actually caught wind of this. They just actually released a firmware update. I'll go ahead and I'll put a link for that firmware update down in the description, but it did fix all the issues that people were having with the actual usability of the scroll wheel itself. Kind of has this hollow shell feeling on it when you're using the scroll wheel, so it's kind of loud and echoey, and it was a little bit worse on my black copy. One thing that I did do is I actually opened it up and I did apply some of this switch lubricating oil just all around it on all the contact points with it, and it did make it feel a lot more premium. It's actually not even loud at all anymore and feels smoother. But if you do have experience with the previous versions of this mouse, I do feel like they did make the steps just a little bit heavier when you're scrolling it, and the actual switch when you're activating it, it feels really good. It's nice and lightweight. The shell itself and the side buttons, I do kind of feel like from copy to copy they've kind of varied. For example, on my black copy here, I do feel like I get a bit more of play on the rear side button, so a little bit more pre-travel, and then once you do activate the switch in, it does have, I just feel like a little bit more post-travel. So the side buttons on the black copy, they do feel a little bit looser, whereas on the white copy, for whatever reason, the side buttons feel a lot more solid. There's like no pre-travel on my rear side button. It still has about the same amount of post-travel, but for whatever reason, the side buttons and just the shell in general on this white version, it feels a lot more solid than on my black copy, where they just kind of feel a little bit more loose. And then finally, when it comes to the shell, like I'd mentioned, I've kind of been having some issues. I've been trying to talk to a lot of people out there that have this mouse and have been having experiences with it, and I do kind of feel like right now the build quality is kind of all over the place. When I did get the black copy, it felt solid out of the box, but then as I began using it, I feel like I got some spots where I noticed a little bit of creaking and a little bit of looseness on this black version itself. I took the mouse apart and tried putting it back together, and I couldn't fix the issue. And oddly enough, one day I was just gaming with this and I just wasn't paying attention, and for whatever reason I slammed my hand down on top of the mouse. I think I was getting a drink of water or something, not paying attention when it was dark in my room, and I heard a really loud popping noise. It kind of snapped everything together, and the flexibility and the looseness kind of went away, and it felt a lot more solid. But even if you were just to kind of squeeze all over this mouse really tight, it does kind of feel like it's a thinner shell, and you do kind of notice it when you have it in the hands. And like I mentioned, I've talked to a bunch of other users. I've talked to a lot of people that have perfect copies of the mouse, and I was actually talking to Stubby. He's going to be dropping a video on this mouse shortly, but he's actually had a little bit more worse of luck with the actual shell itself, so I would recommend checking out his video when that does drop. But when it comes to the white version of this mouse, for me, it's been absolutely solid, and the build quality on here just feels perfect. So definitely something to keep in mind if you are interested in picking this up. All right, so let's go ahead and drop the click and build quality sound check. And when it comes to the weight and balance, do keep in mind on the black copy of this mouse again that I do have these dot skates on there. But again, both these copies are the 300 milliamp hour battery, 51.3 grams on the black copy, and on the white copy with the original skates, looks like I got it coming in at 51.9 grams. They've also done an awesome job at nailing the balance. The front to back on this feels perfect, and even the left to right feels solid as well. The software has been very easy and intuitive to use. Once I got this out of the box, all I do is set my DPI. Like I said, I haven't had an option to have any experience with 4K yet. I was looking at the drivers that they're using, and it does say Deluxe on there, so I'm not sure if they are using some type of a custom firmware solution. But as far as the actual software itself goes, you can actually adjust the debounce setting, but the minimum debounce time it currently lets you set it to is only 2 milliseconds. So hopefully they will enable an option in the future to where they'll allow you to drop down to either 1 or even hopefully 0 milliseconds. But these are the settings that I have currently been using, and they seem to be working fine for me. Like I stated in the beginning of the video, this is by far one of my absolute favorite shapes that's currently on the market. The one difference that they did make that I'm extremely happy that they did is they got rid of this kind of button design here to where I felt like these buttons kind of rub together. As you can see, they put this piece here and spaced them out, and I haven't had any types of issues with them rubbing up against or anything like that. I do personally prefer this design a lot more. But with that being said, for those of you that don't know, this is actually a really close, similar shape to the Razer Viper Mini. If you look at these from the bottom, the curve profile on these is almost identical, and if you were to put them together, it does feel like the M800 Ultra is just a slightly bit wider than the Razer Viper Mini itself. If you were to look at these from the back, they look pretty similar with the actual curve profile to the top, middle, to the sides, again with the M800 Ultra just feeling just a little bit larger, even though the Razer Viper Mini is an incredible shape, one of my favorite shapes of all time and one of the most popular shapes of all time. I honestly do kind of slightly prefer the M800 Ultra. And next, when comparing the M800 Deluxe to the VGN Dragonfly F1. These mice are actually pretty similar to one another when it comes to the overall shape. I do feel like the overall width of them, the VGN Dragonfly just feels just slightly a hair bit wider, but they do kind of have this aggressive curve from the middle of the mouse to the front and to the rear. The M800, it does kind of have a more rounded filling coming from the top, middle of the mouse, tapering off to the sides. The actual curve profile on them isn't that far apart, but the top of the VGN Dragonfly does feel a bit more flat. Though the mid hump on the M800 Ultra, it does stick up just a little bit taller. All right, and finally, if we were to compare the M800 Ultra to the Ajazz AJ199, I do feel like the AJ199 is a little bit closer to the scale of the actual Razer Viper Mini, but it doesn't have as aggressive curves in the rear or the front. As you can see here, the M800 Ultra, it just feels a little bit wider than the AJ199 in the hands. On the rear of the AJ199, I do feel like it does kind of taper off more aggressively from the top, middle to the sides, so it even feels a little bit more narrow even at the top. The hump sticks up a little bit taller on the AJ199 and tapers off more aggressively to the rear. All right, guys, so that wraps things up on the M800 Ultra. Like I said, I'm still waiting for that 4K dongle. Make sure you follow me on my Twitter. Once I do get the dongle in, I'll test it out, and I'll go ahead and make sure to update my thoughts and opinions on the overall 4K performance once I'm able to test that out. But in the time being, I really am enjoying this mouse a lot, even though it is kind of a lottery. I just want to make sure to give you guys realistic expectations based on what I've been hearing out there. You know, the shell does feel a little bit thinner, but that is kind of a sacrifice that comes sometimes with having gaming mice that are lighter weight. So hopefully in the near future, they'll be able to button that up and get that taken care of. All right, guys, so if you have any questions or feel like I left anything out, please let me know down in the comments below. If you are interested in picking up this mouse, I've left affiliate links down in the description below if you're interested in supporting the channel. If you've enjoyed watching this video and are interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.